Hey everybody, we're checking out Scrapbath. This is a game I've never played before. We're going to give it a playtest here, see what we can give for feedback. I do have the game page open here. I'm just going to read some hopefully relevant bits. It says, this is the first alpha build for my next project I'm currently calling Scrapbath. This is a 2.5D side-scrolling action game with minor platforming elements inspired by the Mega Man franchise, specifically the Zero series of games. Controls, it says WASD, arrows, or left stick for move, space, B button / bottom button for jump, left click, A button / right button for attack, shift, or right trigger is dash. Other notes in this demo, you will find a short tutorial level in the first third of a planned boss fight. Please feel free to leave any kind of feedback. And I'm going to leave the rest of that for now. Let's try and get into the game here. So I've got this screen is the first thing you see when you run the game here, so I've not seen anything past the screen. Looks like it has some some textures or something on the left. This is test. I'm going to try and move my mouse off the screen there. So I believe we're in borderless window mode, and I grabbed my Xbox 360 controller, so I'm going to try that out. Seems pretty responsive so far, which is a good thing to see. So looks like the D-pad isn't working though, so that's a little bit unfortunate. It seems like it would be an easy thing to implement. Obviously, for a 2D game like that, that might be something you want to do. One thing I do notice, it doesn't look like there's any drifting going on with the thumbstick, but I do notice the dead zone is very low, which... So in the case, if this is a Mega Man-like game, it's probably not going to matter as much because you're only doing left and right, so you're not going to get a lot of missed inputs. Because that's one of the things you get from setting the dead zone too low on a thumbstick, is you'll get a lot of miss inputs when you're trying to do, push the stick in one direction and it kind of picks up other directions and stuff, especially when it gets around the center point of the stick, the neutral position. Everything gets kind of close together, and that's why you want to have a good dead zone. I would still suggest increasing the size of the dead zone a little bit. It does feel just a little bit too much in a way, but hopefully it won't be much of a problem. Looks like the camera's keeping me pretty much centered in the screen here, which is that's not really what I'm used to, and there's a zillion ways to do cameras, but it does kind of stand out, I guess. That guy's just... Oh. So I can't duck or anything. I do kind of wish I could use the D-pad. It would just be a little bit nicer, I think, for this. And this is... So we have VSync running at the moment. So we are going to have a little smidge of input lag. Also notice it's a little weird when you jump on this ramp here. I don't know what that little hitching was. Is that just this ramp? Oh, maybe you just have a lot of random hitches. Maybe it's not the ramp. I don't know what that... I just go left and right here. Wait. Let's do this where I can see the camera moving. Yeah, we're just getting some hitches here and there. Not sure what that might be. Just for the sake of it, I'm going to go ahead and close the web browser. Make sure that's not running in the background here while I'm doing this. But it looks like I did a little sword. Okay, there's a little sword swipe. Oh, we get like a little 3-hit attack. Interesting. We're still getting little hitches. I think I'm seeing some little hitches here and there. So yeah, I would definitely recommend, add an exclusive full screen option. That alone would probably get rid of that. I'm not sure what would cause that kind of thing, but usually, using exclusive full screen mode will give you all the frame stability you'd want, and on top of that, you're circumventing VSync. You're making sure you're not having that extra input lag or input latency. So, in any case, so we have this little melee attack. A couple things I noticed. For one thing, Visually, it looks like the range of the sword is quite short. It looks very short, in fact, for a game of this type. Also, like the first two attacks of this horizontal swing, which looks like it would have quite a narrow range of effects. So if you can see my mouse, what's that? Cable spilled or something. You see my mouse cursor here. Like with this being, if this is sort of an action platformer, I'm assuming there's going to be enemies around, kind of all over the place. Maybe there's some flying in the air or whatever. And if I can only attack this little range, that can be quite limiting. So I believe in the Mega Man Zero, it's like all the attacks are like these kind of vertical arcs, right? Where it kind of covers this whole range around the character. So if something's a little bit above you, you can hit them. If they're they're down by your feet, maybe you can hit them. Whereas this, it looks like it's just, at least visually based on this animation, it looks like it's just kind of this narrow space here, which is sort of like it kind of reminds of what is it, Symphony of the Night, Castlevania, where it has that sort of that very narrow sort of area of effect for all of the attacks, which works in that game, but it's it's something to be aware of, the limits of that, where you have to be very precise, and that can lead to some troubles in designing enemies and everything. Does that guy actually shoot, or is he just threatening? I guess he's just there to be threatening at the moment. Okay, attack using left click or press the right button, A button on switch. This, by the way, it looks very blurry on my screen. Is it just my screen being crappy? This is not a... This is not a particularly nice monitor, but I'm not used to seeing that much motion blur. Interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure entirely if that's my monitor, if there's some like some blur effect in the game or something, because that is definitely worse than I'm used to seeing. Yeah, I don't know. We'll just ignore that, I guess. Currently there's a basic 1-2-3 swing combo and an up direction attack. You can also attack while moving. Oh. Oh. Okay. So... Okay, I assume that's a bug. So apparently if I hold up and press attack, it'll kind of do the sort of normal thing, but if I press the attack button again, like quickly, it kind of gets stuck in that, I guess, the end of that animation. Also, it's letting me attack while moving. So this is a case I mentioned, the dead zone on the stick. So before I was assuming we were only going to do left and right, which is, you're not going to have as much trouble. But once you're doing like upwards, once you add that in, now you have this issue where it's kind of easy to like accidentally, like if I just want to hold up, I might accidentally like start running forward, because it's just a very slight difference between holding up and moving left and right. Actually, that's not even a dead zone issue. That's a different. So the issue is the kind of the standard way that the thumbsticks will work. There's like a very narrow range that the stick will interpret as holding straight up. It's the same for straight left and straight right. And then there's like a much wider range where it'll interpret it as diagonally, if that makes sense. So it's like you have to be very precise to go only straight up, down, left, or right. But diagonally, there's like a lot wider range. So what happens is that it's quite easy to, if you need to press like only up, in this case, if I don't want to move but I want to attack upwards, it can be a little bit tricky. It's not even that it's tricky, it's just that sometimes if you're, playing fast or whatever, you might get a little bit of a misinput, and the fact that your thumb isn't really oriented straight up and down, it's kind of at a little bit of an angle, and you have to account for stuff like that. So long story short, for that kind of thing, I recommend like a custom implementation where you kind of make the angles at which you could do straight up, your straight cardinal directions, and the diagonals. You can kind of equalize those angles. I don't know if that makes any sense. I don't want to just sit here and ramble on about that. but I could explain that more if you want me to or something. Jump using space with a button, bottom button. Yep, so it's good to have tutorial elements. I know this isn't like an alpha. Dash by pressing shift or the right bumper. Dashing costs HP. Can also hurt enemies. Okay, dashing costs HP. That is not something I expected, so... oh. You can just dash like as much as you want. Interesting. So interesting that you can do the dash jump and then it'll... Yeah, so if I dash and I let go of the dash button and then jump, it'll conserve my momentum so I can keep getting more speed. Oh, interesting. It's like I can press dash once and then like keep spamming jump, and even though I hit the ground, it doesn't lose my speed right away. Oh, I guess... Okay. Interesting. So there's some kind of weird momentum effect going on when you dash, even if I don't use jump. Like if I just tap the dash button, I move quickly for a little while. So one thing I know, and it's kind of unsurprising, but like if I change direction, like if I dash and then jump and then change direction in the air, I lose all of that extra speed like once I turn around, which might think that that's like a kind of a duh moment, like that's what you would expect. But just to point out, in the Mega Man X games and in the Zero games as well, it actually doesn't work that way. So what you get is when you dash jump, um, you move more quickly in the air, but you can also change direction while you're in the air, and it'll like still be in sort of like a dashing state. So you can hit jump and then, or you can hit dash and then jump, and then you can still like move left and right in the air, and it'll still have that higher speed from the dash until you land on the ground. So that's kind of a component that makes one of the components that makes those games feel the way they do and play the way they do. So I don't know if that's something you care about, but that's worth pointing out. So you can still use this even when your health is at 0, it would seem. I'm really curious to know what the thought process is behind making dash use your HP up. It reminds me of F-Zero. I don't know if that's might have been an inspiration. In the F-Zero games, I think it's a very interesting mechanic. In a game like this, I'm not sure, because I expect, if I'm playing Mega Man X, if I'm playing Mega Man Zero, I expect to just be using the dash all the time, whereas this seems to suggest that I don't want to be using it as much as I might want to. Like that, this is a very clear way to... Oh, I'm stuck. Okay, I might have soft locked here because it looks like I can't... I'm mashing all my buttons. I think I can get out of here. Oh, I landed on the ground. But yeah, if I'm going to be punished for using the dash in some kind of way, or if there's going to be some kind of drawback, then I'm just going to, I'm going to be wanting to do that as little as possible rather than just using that all the time because it's cool and it's fun and it makes the game better. So I'm not really sure like what you have in mind for getting health back and how that whole... I assume that's supposed to be some kind of economy or something. So maybe earlier I took damage. Maybe there's no death state, because it looks like when I was running into this guy, I kind of got stuck on him. I don't know if that was because he's supposed to hurt me, or if maybe it's a weird collision issue here. I was thinking about where I got stuck in the air before over here. I didn't know if that was because I took damage from one of the enemies and I don't have any health, so I don't know if that was supposed to be related to dying or what that was. Some enemies are considered heavy and will have different interactions with your dash ability. Oh, okay, that's pretty cool. Currently there's no visual distinction for heavy versus light. It will be added later. Oh, okay, so that guy actually attacked. that's a little bit different. Yeah, so I want to go fast. It feels good to go fast, but optimally I should just not use that. So as far as I understand the mechanics, oh, that guy didn't take any damage. Interesting. As far as I understand the mechanics, um, at this point, it seems like the fun way to play is not the optimum way to play, and I think that's kind of a big thing to look out for. Like maybe you should reconsider some elements of your design if that ends up being the case, if that makes sense to you. Um, but I'll have to play more. Oh yeah. Oh, I got. All right. Yeah, just some weird interactions with. Okay, that's unfortunate. Okay, first of all, let's kill you, so you're not causing me trouble. Yeah, so a couple things. Obviously, you have this, you have some buggy stuff going on in the platform, and you can see that. But another thing I want to point out is it looks like you can jump up here. So this is a thing that people do sometimes, and I like to point out. So you want to be careful when you're doing platforming, um, not to put platforms in such a place where it's like right on the line of where you might actually be able to physically jump there, because it creates this ambiguity. So like when I look at this, it feels like I should be able to jump up there, but it's like it's so close that it's like I'm not actually sure if it's possible, and it creates this sort of annoying effect. Um, and just as a matter of polish, it's better if you place platforms where it's like you can tell just by looking, like, can I make that jump or can't I? And the only times I would say to not do that is if you want to do stuff like if you want to put hidden areas and levels and stuff like that. Sometimes it makes sense for that kind of thing where it's like, um, just put this place in it. It looks like you can't really jump up there, but it's like, oh, well, maybe you can if you really try. If you really optimize and you get a pixel perfect jump, then you can get up there, and then that's kind of cool because it's like you unlock a secret. But if it's just a normal part of the level, um, it just becomes annoying to deal with that ambiguity, because then you have to think, oh, is that possible? And then you're trying it a few times, and it like you didn't make it, and then it's like, okay, well, maybe I just have to be a little bit more pixel perfect, and you do a few more times, and then maybe it's just you finally conclude that it's not actually possible, and it's like, why even expend all that effort if it's just such a pointless thing, right? So easy way to get rid of that. Just be careful in your design so that there's no ambiguity there. Sounds like a really tiny thing, but it really makes a difference to making a game feel uh, polished and well playable. So I assume you're supposed to use the dash to get up here, which is fine, but I mean, we don't actually need to get up there because I could just go this way, but you're going to put a platform there and you might as well use it, right? It'd be silly to act like you're not supposed to go up there if you're going to put a platform there. But yeah, I'm feeling like, yeah, I don't know about having to use up my HP to do this stuff. Okay, so here's the boss. Okay, we got emojis. This guy looks pretty cool, actually. The whole visual design of it. Okay, so I'm thinking, like, should I duck? Does the dash work as a duck? Maybe that's what I'm supposed to be doing there. Okay, I thought about dashing there, but it happened a little too fast for me to react to that, I guess. So, oh, it's a little hard to see some of those. I mean, it's not hard to understand what's happening there, but okay, so did I dodge that successfully? Am I supposed to hit the hands? Oh, okay, I'm supposed to hit the hands. I thought I was like waiting for stuff to happen and then for like the boss to show a weak point or something, but I guess that was it. So I don't know, that one feels pretty easy. Okay, I hit dash. I don't know what happened there. I'm stuck in a dash state. Oh, I guess I let go of the button while I was in a hurt state or something, so I got stuck dashing and it was draining my HP, unfortunately. So I wasn't holding the button there. I only tapped it for a little bit. Yeah, not sure why I got hit. I don't know if like my finger slipped off the button for a moment. So I can't pause this, unfortunately. Escape keyword? No. So when these punches are happening, some of them are, you'll notice, kind of more diagonal than others, and it occurs to me like there's nothing really threatening about those punches because I can just kind of walk out of the way if I'm paying attention, and it's like, okay, that's fine. But the ones that go really diagonal, like it doesn't really work the same, or it's just a little bit trickier to just kind of walk left or right in all cases. I notice, so sometimes I'm getting hit by those, and it's like it's not like I couldn't try harder and make it work fine, but I'm just pointing it out. Like it kind of in some cases it seems like the ones that are a little more diagonal are a little bit more likely to behave a little different. So it feels like it's just a little inconsistent in that way. Temp asset press attack. This is a quick time event. Okay. Wow. Okay. Thank you for playing. This is unfortunately the end of this demo. Any and all feedback in this early version is greatly appreciated. Please keep in mind that this is a very early build, so many features are missing. Yeah, so obviously very early, as mentioned, and just some jankiness in the basic platforming interaction and everything like that. So one thing I'll point out is like I noticed in the while playing this boss, there was a number of times where I was kind of like doing this upward attack. I'm just trying to move left and right and press attack, but again, it's down to what I was mentioning before, where kind of the standard implementation of the thumbstick makes it so that it's like really easy to go just a little bit off of the straight cardinal directions. So that can be something you probably don't want to have the players like, just trying to move left and right and attack and then like accidentally doing this upwards attack. It's actually very easy to do that. So it's a little weird how that works, but I just wanted to mention that. You might have noticed I was just throwing that out occasionally. I wasn't actually trying to do that. So, yeah, so I guess about the dashing thing, I guess, I can't say there's necessarily anything inherently wrong with making that something that the player would want to use sparingly. And it's obviously very powerful, like in the Mega Man games. You're not just going to be flying across the screen like this. It's not as powerful as that. And if you do want to make it this powerful, where you can just hold it and zoom constantly, if there was no limiting factor on that, then that might be... Why there's so many cables falling off my desk? It can be good to have limiting factors on things like this, because otherwise it's just like you're just going to hold the button down the whole time. Like that's probably what players are going to do. Like if there's just no reason not to, right? And sometimes you don't want to, encourage that kind of thing. So it can be good to have limiting factors, but there's other ways to do it rather than using up your HP. I'm not sure if that's good or bad. It's just kind of, my initial reaction is if you're going to tell me that this is something inspired by Mega Man, then I'm going to want to be dashing like a lot, and just like playing it at as high speed as possible. And there's something cool about, like the F-Zero style of using the dash leading to a risk-reward mechanic, right? So in F-Zero, it's very cool because if you play very well, then you can avoid taking damage. And then, it kind of ups the intensity because it's like, well, if you just completely drain your HP by dashing as much as, or I guess in that game, boosting as much as possible, then, you know, if you even touch the wall at that point, then you're going to die. So, you know, there's certainly an adrenaline element to that, which I could see might be present in a game of this sort, but don't know, because so Mega Man X games, they are technically designed such that you can play them without taking damage. Like there's even, you know, as you well know, there's instant death mechanics in those games too, and things like that. So it's kind of like the game is designed well enough so that if you are very skilled, then you can at least always avoid damage. So certainly if you're going to have this kind of thing where you're always pushing your HP down to the limit like that, you would at least need to kind of achieve that same level of quality where the player can always reasonably avoid damage and, you know, not deal with anything cheap feeling in terms of enemy designs and dangers and things like that. And if you can achieve that, then, you know, maybe this is kind of valid, but I mean, in the sense that, you know, if you're going to keep draining your HP down really low, then maybe you can have this kind of expectation where the player has to kind of play perfectly. But that's kind of a hard thing to do. I mean, even in the Mega Man games, they're obviously very hard. There's a reason why you have an HP pool in those games, and it's not like a shmup or something where it's just one hit from anything kills you, because in those games, it's asking a lot of the player to play completely perfectly. So, like, you know, the player would have to play for quite a lot of hours before getting to that point where they'd be able to do like a no-hit run of the game or something, right? So, that's the purpose of having the HP pool in the first place in those games. So, yeah, I would be really careful about having something where you are draining your own HP all the time. Because it's like either the player's not really using it because they need the HP and that they're not getting to enjoy, you know, the fun of boosting around, or they are doing that, but then you're kind of putting that expectation on the player where it's like, well, you better not get hit, like, ever. And unless you make all the enemies really easy, you know, then that's a let's say a risky thing to do design-wise. Kind of lead to a lot of frustration, I think. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't think this is something I would try personally in terms of that specific mechanic. So that's kind of the big thing that sticks out to me in terms of what is not otherwise basic platforming action stuff in this game so far. So, yeah, something worth thinking about, I think. Apart from that, you know, it'll be interesting to see where things go from here and how this polishes up. The little cutscene, the quick time cutscene thing at the end. It was a little weird to tell what was happening at first, but it was kind of cute. I liked the. I thought it was charming, and I think it's really interesting to do that kind of thing sort of in the middle of a boss fight, especially in a game like this where it's kind of like the older games it was based off of would never have anything like that. So it's interesting to see that in this context. So that's pretty cool. Hopefully this was useful for you. Let me know if you have any questions or if I can clarify anything better. And I'll see you in the next one.